Okay, well, I've given everybody another minute or two to sign in, so let's go ahead and start the webcast today. We're going to talk about an important update to the Kentucky Employee Benefits Program. It is time sensitive, but as we talk about this, I want to make everyone aware, don't stress out about these changes. The process for importing your files really has not changed. It's a change of the file format. Nothing you do can't be fixed. But there are some steps you should follow with the timeline, making sure program updates are applied, and also some information about term files, not processing those. So let's start off today. For those of you not familiar with our team, my name is Kristen Lambert. Where the technical name for our team is the School District Financial Systems Services Team. We're known as the KDE Munis team or Enterprise ERP team. A few years ago, Munis changed their name to Enterprise ERP, also EERP could be the nickname. So you'll hear that name used interchangeably throughout the webcast today. I'm the team lead. I work with Kim York, who is also a technical analyst on our team, and Kathy Pelletier is our vendor partner who we work with closely. Um, so today we're going to talk about, what's changed and why we made these changes, the timing of the changes, how to import your daily CRIS files, and also review that timeline, including talking about Tyler Deploy and making sure that program is installed before, farther processing of those daily files. Again, like I said, please don't stress about this. It should be seamless. It's just making sure you have that update applied before you continue processing those files. So what's changed and why? We have had this on kind of our agenda, the back of the mind for the last few years, and we've slowly been working towards it. We hear about security time and time again. We're trying to reduce personally identifiable information, also called PII. So right now, the CRIS files you receive come into your spool directory in Munis, and they include a lot of employee information on these files. And once you import these files, they still remain in your spool directory. You may not see them, but they are there, and the files contain the full Social Security number, so including name and address and all that other information. So in an effort to reduce that PII, the file has been updated to include just the last 4 digits of the Social Security number. So now the Kentucky Employee Benefits with this update will use the last 4 to match an employee and also the date of birth that is part of the file. Also, when ERP can't find a matching employee, the record now will import with employee number 0, which you're used to seeing, but there's been an update, which I think many people would be happy to see, where you can actually select update on those health records and assign an employee number. This quite often happens when the Social Security number in CRIS does not match Munis. It may happen because of summer transfers and you just don't have that person in EERP yet. So now when those files come in, you can select update and assign that employee number and continue processing normally. Another thing that has changed is the termination file will no longer contain the Social Security number. So right now when you create termination files, it includes the Social Security number, and that's the only information. That will be replaced with the PERNer number. So that timing is important. You should not create any term files from this point forward until the update to this program has been applied in Munis. The CRIS system will not be able to process it in the old file format. We also recently put something in place with Tyler to reduce this PII sitting on your server, where a process runs at the end of the month and purges old health files that are 55 days or older will be purged out of your system. This allows you plenty of time to import these files and process them for payroll. But since we're talking about PII, I thought I'd just throw that little nugget of information in that we're doing everything we can to try to maintain this information in a secure manner. So the schedule today, as mentioned, no more term files should be processed. So please make sure that update is installed before processing any more term files to CRIS or to fail. Today was the last day you received a CRIS KEB file, was distributed this morning in that old format. Starting tomorrow, CRIS will start processing files using the new file format. So you're not going to see this, it's just a change in the background. The CRIS folks are going to hold that file tomorrow, so nothing will be delivered tomorrow. Tomorrow, Tyler will also release the update to the Kentucky Employee Benefits Program. Those are always released at the end of the day and will be available to install at that point. So starting on Friday, CRIS will release those files. So you'll receive 2 files, the Thursday file and the Friday file that morning. Do not process that file until you have verified the update has been installed. Let's see here. So the file import changes. I'm going to let Kim take over and speak on some of the import changes.
Good morning, everyone. So my portion of this is going to kind of expand on what Kristen has already introduced. We'll go into a few more details with this. So regarding your file import changes, that daily process that you do importing your CRIS daily files, that is going to remain the same. You won't see any difference in the steps that you're doing to actually import the file. That will all stay the same. What is new, as Kristen has introduced, is that the CRIS files will only contain the last 4 numbers of the Social Security number versus the full Social Security number. So when you're actually importing those files, what it's going to look for in that process is that Kentucky Employee Benefits will now use the last 4 of the Social Security number and the date of birth from the CRIS file to match an employee and EERP. Okay, Kristen. So importing errors that you may receive through this process will look a little different than what you saw before. So if the last 4 of the Social Security number does not match an employee in EERP, you will receive an error on the Kentucky Benefit Import Error Report. And you see a screenshot there of what it will look like. It simply says Employee Master Record does not exist for date of birth and the last 4 of the Social Security number, or that multiple records found for the date of birth and last 4 of Social Security number. And that should be really, really rare. Same thing as if the date of birth and Social Security number matches more than one employee in EERP, you will receive this error message, and it tells you that the Employee Master Record does not exist or multiple records exist. And again, that's going to be a very, very rare thing. It could happen possibly. Okay, Kristen. So if you need to search to find out who that last 4 of the Social Security number belongs to know who is actually receiving the error, you'll simply go to Employee Master. You'll choose the search on the ribbon. You'll enter an asterisk and the last 4 of the Social Security number in that Social Security number field that you see highlighted. You'll choose Accept to see all the records for employees who have the last 4 of the Social Security number. And you can also search by date of birth. So if you want to be more specific or you need to search by date of birth, let's say that the last 4 of the Social Security number is incorrect in EERP and you're unable to find it by the last 4 of the social, you could search by date of birth and find that information too. So a new feature, and as you know, you all have had to attend several webcasts lately, but what Kristen and I have done, we've always given you a little surprise and something good for the districts when we make these updates. And I think that dreaded 0 employee number that would come in when you're doing your CRIS file imports is no longer going to be that dreaded employee 0. So when you're importing your CRIS files and EERP does not find a matching employee, the record imports with the employee number 0. But you may now update those records with the correct employee number if needed. You'll simply go to Import Pending and double click on the employee with a 0 employee number. This will open their pending benefit record. You can then choose Update from the ribbon and enter the employee's EERP number in the employee number field and select Accept. You see these things highlighted in the screenshot below. This will add the employee's EERP number, and you may move forward in this process in the next steps to import your CRIS files. So really, there shouldn't be any more having to get a file renamed or having to manually input this information. You'll be able to update that and move forward. Okay, Kristen. So a newish, it's not a new feature. The Perner field has been added to the benefit record. So when importing your CRIS files, the printer will be captured and populate in that field. Again, this is not new, but we're just kind of updating you on that. So the printer field is necessary to process your term gens, your terminations correctly. So the important thing here is that districts must have this program update installed. We can't stress how important this is before creating term files effective 9/2, which was yesterday from 7 p.m. Eastern time or after. Terminations will not process in CRIS without that program update installed. So how to manually update the printer field. So in the event you need to add a printer number, you can enter it manually. You'll choose search on the ribbon in the benefit records and find the employee. You'll choose update and add the printer in the new printer field. And these instances may be if you are manually entering a benefit record for someone, you can enter it and skip that printer number and get it to accept without putting that printer number in there. When that's going to become really important is if you are going to term that person, that printer number needs to be there. So in the event that you've manually entered one without a printer number, you can manually add that and then process your termination after that. You'll simply hit accept once you've done these steps and you'll be good to go. And I think that's all for me, Kristen. I think you're thinking better.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. So, no big changes to the program. You're going to continue processing as you always have. First step is go ahead and make sure if you have any existing files that are sitting out there from CRIS, go ahead and get in the KEB program and import all those files into pending. It needs to use the current program to match up those employees on the file. As long as you get them into pending, you'll be fine. They don't need to be moved to active, but any existing files, go ahead and get those imported, preferably today, tomorrow, before that program update may automatically be installed in your district. So I imagine a lot of you out here watching the webcast probably don't manage EERP. You're not responsible for Tyler Deploy. That's, totally understandable. You will want to double check with the person who manages, typically the CFO in your district, and have them look at the automatic update schedule and see when you have it scheduled. There's no need to install this update manually. It can update automatically based on your schedule, but the key is do not import any new files that you receive starting on Friday until you have verified that update has installed. Now, most districts do have automatic updates scheduled. I do get a report and I can see where everybody's at when the last deployment was at. So most people do have automatic updates scheduled, but there are a few of you out there that don't, and you may not realize it that you don't. So you may want to hop into Tyler Deploy and make sure that updates are available. And this, of course, will be available in all versions of EERP that are supported. So all of our districts are using a supported version of EERP, and we will be sending out an email on Friday with information on the releases telling you what release the update was in, so you can look on that. So let's talk a little bit more about that. I mentioned automatic updates. This is Tyler Deploy. When you log into Tyler Deploy, you can select automatic updates on the left-hand side of the screen here. You select the edit button under looking for EERP prod, and you can make sure that enabled is marked, and installed latest is also selected. The install latest, make sure you receive the latest code, and you can also verify the schedule there. Now, I would not suggest editing your automatic update schedule unless you have verified your other updates, the schedule on those. You can't overlap updates. So if you have train going at the same time, you cannot update your test environment or your prod environment if you have another deployment running. So hopefully your update schedule is good. Just make sure it's enabled, and the next time that updates run, that program update will be installed. But if for some reason you don't want to wait for that program update to be installed, you can schedule it in advance or do it on demand. In Tyler Deploy, you would select product deployments, select Munis EERP, and then choose your environment up at the top. Choose your latest release, which would be the highest number on the list. And then you can choose now or later. So if you do it now, make sure no user is in EERP at that time. You can also select that toggle and choose later and schedule it for overnight or later in the evening. Again, you cannot have another automatic update or deployment scheduled during that time. You select the start button there, and it does take time to think. It goes out and pings some servers and does some work, so leave it alone. Don't navigate away from that page too quickly. So I'm not going to get into any more about Tyler Deploy. There is a webcast available on the KDE Media Portal. I did last year on Tyler Deploy. I'll probably do another one in the future. Our SharePoint site that we refer to a lot, there's pictures and walks you the steps of using Tyler Deploy. So information is available out there for you. Now, let's talk about how to verify the program update has been applied in EERP. So maybe you have updates scheduled to go over the weekend, and Monday morning you come in the office. Before you import any CRIS files, you need to verify that update has been received. In any program in EERP, you can find this information, but let's pretend we're in the Kentucky Employee Benefits Program. In the upper right-hand corner, you see a question mark, and you would select that. It gives you a menu, and you can select About. At that point, another screen will pop up, and in bold letters, it'll show you Munis version, and it'll say, and this is example 2024.5. That is the major release that your district is running. You may be running 2024.2, 2024.3. There are, 5 supported versions maybe at this point, with one to retire shortly. So the nightly release are the last 3 or 4 numbers you see down at the very end here. And that's what you're going to be looking at. So we'll send an email Thursday night, Friday morning with the release information saying the update was available in the following releases, and it'll include every major version. And you will hop in there and look. And in this example, again, this is purely an example, it shows .510. We're going to pretend that the release is available in 2024.5.0.525. So if you pull up this screen and see the example up there, you know you do not have the update because 510 is less than 525. But if you had release 525 installed, then you know you have the update. Or if you had release 526 installed, you know you have the update because 526 is greater than 525. Now, each major version, 2024.5, 2024.4, each major version will have a different number, those last trailing numbers. So it's really easy. Everyone has access to go to that about information. I'm going to scroll back to that screen one more time. You select the question mark in the upper right-hand corner of the program. You select About, and that screen will come up and give you the quarterly information. I'm sorry, we'll give you the program release along with the quarterly release information so you can verify the update has been installed. You can also, if you have access to Tyler Deploy, you can also check there. That's another option. You select Overview, and then Munis ERP will show you what version your prod environment is in. The Evaluate Releases does need to be marked to see that information. So after you verify that the update has been applied, everything is essentially back to normal. Continue importing. At that point, you can start processing your term files. Just a reminder that these files should be imported throughout the year. They're used for different calculations and processes such as federal reimbursement. The employer portion is used when updating deductions for your W-2s. So these files don't just do it once during open enrollment. They should be processed year-round. If you have any problems or questions, please reach out to our team box, not to us individually, because both Kim and I are monitoring this entire project and this update, and we both have access to that box. It's EERP@education.ky.gov. And just again, a reminder, do not create term files. If we haven't said that enough, please do not create any term files until you have verified that that program update is in place. And after the webcast is done today, we will, our great recording broadcasting team here at KDE will have it set up, and we'll send out a link with this recorded webcast, including the copy of the slide decks. People always ask us, hey, can we get a copy of the slide deck? We always send that out. So people are asking, can you tell me the number for the update? No, I cannot, because it has not been published yet, but we will let you know. Tyler is supposed to release it at the end of the day on Thursday, and we will be emailing that information out on either Thursday night, Friday morning with information. So let's see, let's hop over here. We have some questions going in. That's great in the chat. What is the update version number? Again, can't really give you that because it's going to vary by different quarterly release. So that information will be available once it's pushed out to Tyler Deploy, and we will include that in an email. Yes, we're going to email the presentation. We had another question. If we have records in pending with a future effective date, can we leave those in pending? Yes. All existing files can be imported and should be imported, and they can sit in pending. So what happens when you import the file is it takes the file from Chris and finds the employee in Munis, right, and matches it up and says, oh, John Smith on the Chris file equals John Smith in Munis. It knows to match that employee. And we are updating files, so if you wait and don't import existing files, you may have to do some manual fixes on importing. So that may not be clear as mud. Important thing is, please import all existing files. They can sit in pending until you're ready to move them to active. And that's pretty much happens year round, right? Because you have future effective dates you may import, and they're going to sit there. Feel like we went through some of this pretty quickly. If any questions, you can throw them in there. Don't stress on this change. There's no major change to the file import process. It's just the file layout and the timing of everything is so important. And that's why we had this webcast. And yes, you can enter a new hire in Chris if needed. That does not change. There's a question about it, the Chris process. Nothing changes there. Just the file format that you're receiving will be updated, and the program update has to be in place to start reading that new file. Any other questions? Well, we allotted an hour, but I figured it'd only take about a half an hour. We could sit here another moment, but unless you have any other questions, just go ahead and end this webcast. After the fact, if you have any other questions, email the EERP team at that email you see there on the screen. And be on the lookout for a future email from us with those releases, and make sure it's applied before importing your file or creating any new term file. So thank you all for attending today. I know it's a busy time of year.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks.